Hi guys, this is SuperBoo3 and welcome back to another Worth Playing review. Today we're looking at the Unfinished Swan, and in this game you are a child with a paintbrush in a world which is a blank canvas. You have to use the paint to navigate your way around the world, which is a nice interesting touch. I know a lot of people get into a debate whether this game is art or not, but that's not the question we're answering today. The question we're answering is this game fun and is it worth playing? The game can seem like a one-trick pony at first because you'll think that this is all there is to it, but the later levels do have different structures and are certainly more interesting. And I think that the game in itself actually gets more interesting as you go along, although I will say my initial impression of this first level was one of amazement. I have played this through countless times and I've enjoyed every run through the game. I really admire how the story is told in this game, so I'll leave that surprise for you when you come to play the game yourself. But the general premise is a boy who is chasing after a mischievous swan, and he's in this world where the whole world is a blank slate. As I mentioned before, there is more to this game than some simple navigation from painting rooms left and right. If you look here, you'll notice that we're actually dealing with a wraparound here. And there's actually some nice little touches like that, which really does make the world just that little bit more interesting. Right in front of me here is the swan that I was talking about. As you can see, the effects in the game change as the game progresses. Here we have shadow effects finally added into the game, which suddenly changes the whole world's appearance and makes navigation a lot more easier, as well as just being a very nice visual look. The story is presented by these plaques which you'll find as you walk around the town.
To be beautiful, and it was.
And when you find them, the narrator will read them out to you. I absolutely just love how the story is presented in this game. As I mentioned previously, eventually you sometimes have to use water instead, but there's advantages to it, such as these plants here, which as you can see grow as I throw water at them, and you can actually climb these reeds. It's a very cool way of navigating things, and like I said, when you're presented with the game just being a game about throwing paint around and that's the only way to navigate, it does seem a lot more bland, but when you realise just how cool some of the extra things added on in your adventure are, the game suddenly grows out to be a lot more interesting. Some of the later levels are set at night time, which again change up the visuals quite a bit. You'll still just be navigating around. The puzzles in the game are generally quite simple, and you just have to get used to the new mechanics as they are introduced. Here is another area where mechanics start changing again, where you can suddenly start creating platforms. This, I will admit, this section of the game isn't too big, but it is a nice change of pace. And as I've mentioned before, I was genuinely surprised at the different structure of the levels as you go through the game. So I think that if this game visually interests you, it is certainly a game that is one that you should invest some time in. The game is pretty fun. I like how the story is presented, but you know, a story can be a very different thing for certain people. Some people may love it, some people may hate it. I mean, the story is presented like a children's book, so in some respects some people may find it a bit too childish, but I think that's part of the charm, and I really like what they were going for. I genuinely was interested and curious about how the story was going to unfold when I heard about the weird and wonderful kingdom we found ourselves in. I personally think that Unfinished Swan is the kind of game that you can tell if you'd be interested in it from just looking at a few of the visuals. it is a peaceful game and a nice game to get away from the more action orientated games that are so common these days. It's sometimes nice to just sit back and relax. It kind of reminds me of when I used to play Journey, and which I found was another game that you could just go to and just play through in a very relaxed and chilled out mood without much pressure or difficulty. The story, like I said, has its charms, but it's not of enough of a driving force to play the game for alone. You will either like the simple puzzles or not. As I've said before, yes, the game has got puzzles, but they are a simple nature and you will get past them in a few seconds. I mean, it's nice in the fact that you won't ever be stuck or frustrated, but I guess some people would prefer the games to have at least some challenge. There are a host of collectibles which will give you some rather fun unlockables, including being able to stop all of your paintballs in midair at the same time and having a rapid fire fire hose paintbrush, which is again still rather fun. Anyway guys, I hope that has given you enough insight into the game, and until next time, bye.